All right, welcome back. This is episode 2 of Scene Interpretation. I am Dr. Sophia Murphy, a licensed therapist here in Tempe, Arizona, and I am a cinephile through and through. And today I get to talk to a really great friend of mine about another movie that I absolutely love. Spoiler alert. Yes, I have a t-shirt because I'm obsessed. This is Lexi. If you want to introduce yourself, we're going to be talking about The Matrix.
Hi, I'm Lexi. And when Dr. Murphy had said, do people have movies they haven't seen? I thought I would be a good person because there's so many iconic movies I haven't seen.
Love it.
And this was one of the ones I like threw out there. And she was like, I love this movie. And after watching it, I also love this movie. And
Ooh, spoiler alert.
yeah,
Yay.
I need to watch the rest now. So it was really cool.
This is exciting. So what I'm hearing is you may be back because
Yes.
it sounds like you have a large repertoire of movies that people are consistently telling you need to watch.
Yes.
So I'll add myself to that list. This
Yes.
is great. Yeah. So The Matrix is one of, I would say, the biggest cult classics of probably a generation. So what I would like to start with is, given that it has so many references, the red pill, the blue pill, it's influenced pop culture in so many ways. Knowing that it was a classic, did you have any pressure on how you thought you were supposed to feel watching it? And then how did that compare to how you did feel watching it?
Yeah, so I think I thought it would be like more techy and I didn't think I would like it as much as I did.
Okay.
Yes, I saw like the red pill, blue pill. I was like, "Oh, that's like where that came from."
Yep.
And then like obviously I knew like the defying gravity
Yep.
moments like cuz they're iconic, so I like knew that was attached to the Matrix but didn't fully understand it until I watched it.
Totally fair.
So that was pretty cool to be like, "Ah, okay."
Yep.
Yeah.
So putting those feelings together. So it sounds like without even seeing it, you kind of thought maybe this wasn't going to be a movie for you, but then having watched it, now it sounds like it was maybe better than how you had imagined it in your head.
Yeah, absolutely. I did not know if I would like it, but when Dr. Murphy said it was one of her favorites, I was like, okay, it has to be decent. Like, and even my boyfriend was like, it's such a good movie. You've never seen it. He told me I was going to be confused the whole time, but I actually was not.
Oh, well, that sounds like a conversation to take back to him,
Yeah.
that you actually connected with it. I'll have to figure out what made him think you would be confused. I mean, to be fair, that was one of the things that surrounded this movie when it first came out.
Yeah.
So I remember kind of very similarly. I don't remember trailers and hype and things being quite as big back then as they are now. I mean, I know as we were like in the Jurassic Park era, there was a lot of like cross marketing with like fast food and things like that. So I'm sure it did exist. But for this movie specifically, I don't have a ton of memories of all this build up to the Matrix. So when it was like kind of being advertised and yeah, all that like green and black tech stuff, I was thinking the same thing. Like, I don't really care about a movie about computers. But back in the day, because I'm old, when you couldn't buy tickets in advance, people would wait outside to get seats. And so I distinctly remember seeing people lined up, especially once it was gaining momentum. And I'm thinking, like, what am I missing?
Yeah.
So I had a very similar experience too, where it wasn't on my radar. I didn't care about seeing it. But then once it dropped, it was all people talked about. You have to see this movie. You have to see this movie. It's mind blowing. The
Yeah.
special effects. It's actually really like deep and talking about other things. And I had a very similar experience of like, I don't think I'm going to understand this because I'm not a computer kid. And then I loved it.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting in the theater thinking, A, how did somebody come up with this story? Like, how is someone so smart to come up with this concept? And then B, how did they pull this off?
Yeah. And like that was one of the things I commented was like, this was 27 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy,
Yeah.
like watching it now. And when it came out in 99, I was only 5. So that could have been a big reason why it wasn't on my radar because I was a 5-year-old. So
That's
like,
fair. I don't think many 5-year-olds were watching them.
yeah. So I'm like, maybe that could have had something to do with it, but I'm happy that I didn't watch it until now because I'm like, bro, this is insane. Like
Yeah.
those were like my notes. I was like, okay, I'm scared now.
So that's actually a great segue. So kind of walk me through the moment when you were realizing what the Matrix was and how did you feel?
So I felt a little scared, honestly, because they talk about AI. So I'm going to go to my note of
Yeah,
what I
please.
wrote. So I said, Morpheus finally explains the Matrix and humans destroy mankind with AI. What the fuck? This was 27 years ago. I have never used ChatGPT. I have a smart brain. I prefer. with a smiley face.
Yes.
I don't know
Beautiful.
why I've always been, like, a little scared of AI. Not that, like, because I know it's so engulfed in our lives now. Like,
Yeah.
even if you log on to social media, it's AI now.
Yeah.
Like, everything is AI, so it's hard to get away from it.
Mhm.
But it was kind of scary. And then I put questioning why everything is AI. Clients tell me, because I'm actually a hairstylist, so I work with people and very closely. They tell me lots about their lives. So that's what I mean when I say clients. So my clients tell me that their jobs are diminishing due to it. So I've had people tell me that about like 70% of their HR is getting laid off
Oh,
and getting
wow.
replaced with AI,
Yep.
and stuff like that. So it was a little crazy. And I was like, okay, The Matrix came out 27 years ago. Why don't we learn from this stuff, you guys? Like, I'm a little scared. And I think I put somewhere else too. Humans are no longer born, we are grown. We become crop, livestock, no longer top of the food chain. We've created machines superior to us.
I think you nailed it. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, just in that sentence too, you've described the entire plight of the movie. But I have a very similar experience, except sort of in the inverse. So when this movie came out, we had no AI and computers were very rudimentary, right? Like we were just kind of getting into that space. I don't remember exactly when like AOL came out and like chat and stuff like that, but it was kind of in that vein, right? Like we're going into the 2000s. And I kept thinking like, what a terrifying idea that we could create technology that would supersede us
Mhm.
to then turn us into essentially food.
Yeah.
And how could we ever allow that to happen?
Yeah.
And so I think over the years, my fear of AI is actually very much driven by seeing The Matrix as a kid, seeing it as almost like a cautionary tale,
Yeah.
and then watching us create and like almost bring to life the storyline with absolutely like seemingly no fear
Yes.
or care about the possible consequences, even though we had amazing artists creating stories around the dangers of this 27 years ago, to your point. So I think it's fascinating because I feel very similarly about AI.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of criticism of, you need to engage with it so that you're not left behind. And for me, I feel very cautious, especially in my field, very human driven.
Yeah.
I don't want to feed into a machine that's negatively impacting human engagement and the human experience.
Yeah. And like I have a lot of people, because like I said, I work with people, they use ChatGPT to even like create a text, a
Yes.
response. And that's what I mean when I say I have a smart brain. Because to me, I'm like, I feel like I can create my own responses.
Yep.
I can do certain things. Things like that. Even we see at like McDonald's fast food restaurants, now it's like tablets and they don't really
Yes.
even have workers up front.
Yep.
So again, like it's taking away from like humans in some sense. I do get like I shouldn't say I get, but I understand that people do have this opinion that we need to just like go with it,
Yep.
but it can be a little terrifying because these computers are more intelligent. I don't know, also like iRobot. Like there's a lot of movies that we like
Yes.
foreshadow things
Yeah.
and yeah, I just feel like it's so accessible now that
Mhm.
people are using it so much that they're not being as creative maybe as they used to be on their own. Even like
Absolutely.
people use AI to like generate art even.
Yes.
Like a lot of things I've noticed. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I have a lot of fear around, again, not just the human relational piece, but the fact that we're not challenging ourselves anymore broadly. Of course, some of us are, but broadly, we're sort of moving to the space where we're not challenging ourselves anymore. We know we can rely on ChatGPT or Claude or whichever, system you want to use. And the fact that now it's causing us to question what's real and what's not, which is what I think really gets to the heart of the story too, right? Like now we're getting to a place where just because I see it on social media or on the news or whatever, is that real or is that AI? Are
Absolutely.
those even real people I'm looking at in this photo or in this video, or is it all computer generated?
Yeah.
And even since this movie up until the very recent present, I was not questioning what I was seeing as being real or not.
Yeah.
That's a very new phenomenon like the last 10 years. And I think that's another part about this movie was that, Neo's kind of living in this world. He's very unfulfilled. He's kind of a loner. And he has that sense that something's wrong and off or maybe just unfulfilling, but he doesn't know what. And so now we're kind of moving into this sort of space where we're questioning everything because it seems so bizarre and far-fetched. And the whole idea was that in the Matrix, they had created many, many versions over the years. And that when they gave humans this like utopia, they couldn't function and they would like break down. And so they had to wipe the Matrix and start over. And they figured out that humans function best in this like state of misery and complacency. And that's the Matrix we're introduced to in the movie. And I kind of wonder how you see that maybe reflected in reality now of like, we're kind of living in this weird, drab, continually bad news laden present reality.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think that this is one of those movies that I would have to watch it a second time to
Sure.
get like all the messages.
Sure.
Certain things were picking up with me more. Um, but it is crazy to, never know if what you're watching or what you're seeing is real or not.
Yep.
Pictures, movies, like even like you said, news articles. I mean, the AI is crazy now, so it's like hard to tell what's real, what's not. And
Mm,
similarly, like you were saying, connecting with the Matrix, there's multiple versions of like that reality.
yeah.
And like it's it was very interesting
Yep.
to see it all, especially like I said, 27 years later and how accurate it kind of is.
Yes. How terrifyingly accurate and
Yes.
applicable it seems right now. So I guess when Morpheus kind of talks about telling Neo, like, I can only show you the door, you have to walk through it. What do you think about that when it comes to maybe our day to day lives now and like what we have to do to decide to make choices to either confront some of these things that we're talking about or go along with it?
Yeah, so I think that very true. Information can be presented to people, but what they do with it is ultimately up to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was kind of the message there is I can give you all the information, but if you don't want to utilize it and do something with it,
Yeah,
there's, nothing that Morpheus could do to force him, right? It's
true.
like in Neo's brain. He has to do it.
Yep.
So I liked that because it kind of says, too, how I interpreted that is like sometimes as a friend, as a mom, as a daughter, we try to guide people
Mm,
to what we see as an outsider, like, hey, this is like a really bad situation for you, or like,
right.
hey, this might not be the right move. And you can do that so much, but ultimately it's up to other people, like the choices they want to make.
Yep.
So that's also the message I was receiving
Mm-hmm.
when that part came up.
Absolutely. And I think you said it perfectly, right? Like that is something we encounter on a day-to-day basis, whether we're the receiving end,
Mhm.
someone's trying to present us an option that we really still have to take the initiative, or we're trying to maybe illuminate an option for someone we care about while also recognizing they have to walk through that door. You
Yeah.
can't drag them kicking
Yeah.
and screaming, or you can, and it probably won't go well.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess if you were to have to choose between the red pill and the blue pill, what do you think you would pick? That's one of the biggest questions I remember coming out of Matrix for decades.
Um, so am I Neo? Like, do I don't know. That's so hard. Am I Neo or am I myself choosing it?
Let's do both.
Okay. I feel like if I was Neo, I would choose the red pill, which brings you to the Matrix, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because he has a super smart brain. And now I feel I have a super smart brain, but not that smart. I don't even own a computer, okay? So like I'm not that like tech savvy. So if someone was like, you can enter the Matrix, I'm like, that's terrifying. I would probably just take the blue pill.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a lot and like fighting for my life and like stressful. So yeah, I'm like, I like my life. I feel like I have a nice life. That seems insane. And I feel like my probability of like dying very soon would be
Mm.
very high.
Yeah, I mean, I think you also speak to kind of like that existential human, kind of fork in the road is like, do I go with what I know and what I'm used to, or do I challenge myself to put myself in a completely new foreign situation that maybe could illuminate a whole different way of being to me? Because what's interesting about I think that red pill, blue pill question is Neo's also being presented as like the key to everything. But clearly, lots of humans in the story have taken the red pill and gotten unplugged to
Mhm.
join the resistance, not necessarily be the one.
Yes.
And so I think about that in even current terms. There's a lot of things happening in our present day where I don't know if there's a one that's going to like lead us, to salvation. And at the same time, like, do we want to be part of the resistance, right?
Mhm.
Very like Star Wars again, similar like hero's journey coded messaging, or do I want to go along with what I'm used to?
Yeah.
And I think you can phrase the red pill, blue pill that way too, is maybe you're not taking it to be the savior, but would you want to wake up if you found out that all of this was fake and we could unplug and be part of the resistance?
See, in that sense, I always love, like, fighting for the cause. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I would wanna fight for the resistance in that sense. I feel like I would just be terrified.
Yeah.
And also, like, I don't know, it's like, would I see my son again? Like, things like that would be, like,
Yeah.
hard. Um, so that's why I'm like, if I was Neo and, like you said, his life wasn't much to want to go back to,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, like, an easier decision. But I'd be like, "Can I, like, fight and be part of the resistance and then also, like, come back?" So, like the simulation, like, every now and again, like, can we do both? Um, so it was very interesting. That's, like, the only word I have for it.
Yeah.
Just, like, the whole concept and really
Hmm.
makes you wonder, like, are we living in a simulation? Like, what is
Yeah.
going on?
And would we want to know?
Yeah.
Would we want to be faced with what you're saying, like that terrifying reality? Because also, and I think this is true again, a lot of stories that tackle like resisting against an oppression or an oppressor or both, that choice is also very stressful and very, unsexy. I mean, like the real world when Morpheus finally shows Neo is completely destroyed. There's no sunlight, there's no plants. They have to live deep underground, basically close to the core of the earth to live, to be
Yeah.
warm. So it's not a very glamorous
Yeah.
existence. It's really laden in doing like the right thing for the cause.
Yeah.
But the simulation at least looks like what we're used to thinking of as day-to-day life.
Yeah.
But then the argument is we're asleep and none of it's real.
Yeah.
So what's like the worse or the better choice of the two?
Yeah. It is very it's a tough and, trippy choice, right?
Yes. Yeah. Which actually tied into one of my other questions, which was so Cypher's character, the one that really betrays them, chooses to go back. He wants to be plugged back in. He wants the simulation. If you remember that scene where he's meeting with Agent Smith and he's talking about I'm eating the steak and like my brain's telling me it's a steak and this is how it tastes. And he's the one that sets them up so they can capture Morpheus. But he's choosing after being part of the resistance to go back into the stimulation. I'm wondering what you thought about that choice, if you judged him at all. And again, kind of similar, like if you had seen both, what do you think you would do?
So, Cypher is the one that, like, unplugs everyone, right? Or, like, starts to unplug people at the end?
Yes, because he's trying to kill them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So okay, so now I'm confused, so maybe my boyfriend was right. Um, so he goes back, but then he was unplugging them?
So part of the reason he unplugs them is because he knows they're gonna try to stop him because basically betrayed them.
Okay,
So he makes a deal with Agent Smith to put him in exchange to put him back in the Matrix. He's gonna unplug them. Basically, his goal is to put himself back in the Matrix. He has to give them Morpheus.
I see
But to
now.
give them Morpheus, he has to kill the people on the ship because they're gonna obviously try to stop him
I
because
understand.
Morpheus is their leader.
And I do remember the part about saying, like, it's all neurological, like, your senses, what you're seeing, what you're
Yes.
tasting. I do remember that whole conversation.
Yep.
It's just, some things are back and forth.
Sure.
So the original question was what I thought about him wanting to go back into the
Yeah, not the
Matrix.
killing the other people,
Yes.
but just the desire to leave the resistance
Resistance.
and return back to the simulation and basically be put back in the pod.
See, I don't know. Af That's the hard thing. I feel like after it's hard to go back and remind me when he's presented the pills, he hasn't seen the like, how humans are yet, right? The red or the blue pill?
Right, he has no idea.
Yeah. So at that point, I feel like it's, you choose the red pill, you go that way. Once I would see it, I feel like I would want to be part of the resistance and stay part of the resistance.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I had a choice initially and I didn't know, I might just choose the blue because sometimes choosing things unknown can be scary,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
So I think that's why for me, I was like, oh, I'd probably just choose the blue pill because I'd be like, oh, seems very overwhelming. I'm being followed around by Trinity and Morpheus, and random phone calls are happening. So that's kind of, yeah, if I were to know what was going on, I don't believe I would put my body willingly back into that situation.
And I think you make a good point, right? Like once you've seen behind the curtain, could I ever really choose to wipe and go back and make myself essentially, again, food?
Mm-hmm.
just so that I could have, I guess, that comfort
Right?
of being asleep, being in the simulation, right?
Yeah.
Plug me back in because the resistance is exhausting or I don't believe in it anymore.
Yeah.
Again, it's unglamorous, but and I think that ties into you kind of already answered this, but the movie's also grappling with the idea that some people just aren't ready to be unplugged. They're not ready to open their eyes and have that exposed to them and even I think tying it into current times like what do we think about people who maybe rather kind of be blinded than be confronted with the reality?
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that too. When Morpheus was having a conversation with Neo and he said something to that extent, like, we can't just unplug any person, like,
Right.
you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to word it well, but I remember that happening and me thinking exactly that. Like, it's similar in the sense of unplugging people from what they are conditioned to believe
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
so yes, I understood that and saw whoa, sorry, and
You're
saw the
good.
similarities.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's go back to some of your reactions. What else did you have written down?
Okay,
And we'll kind of pop back and forth.
so this is really funny. So the very first part, Trinity is like dodging what would they be called? The resistance?
So Trinity's part of the resistance, the people who
She's
are already unplugged. It's the agents.
the agents.
Yeah.
So she's sorry, I'm like trying to
No,
understand
you're
terminology.
good.
So I didn't understand at first like why she wanted to get to this telephone so bad.
Right.
And I literally put why was the phone call so important? That was like my first note. Um
That's fair. You don't know the lore yet. You
yeah.
don't have the world building.
Yeah, I was like what is going on? Um so you want to talk about some of my emotions?
Yes.
Um So Trinity finds Neo, lures him, seeking an answer for a question, and the answer will find you if you allow it to.
Ooh, well said.
So yeah, that's one of the things I remember is she's having that conversation really close in his ear and
Mhm.
she says something to that extent. And again, I think it's being open, right? That's the bigger message is being open to that answer. If you're closed off to it, it's never going to come to you. But if you're open to anything,
Yep.
I mean, being open to the idea of the matrix in and of itself is crazy, right? So you have to be pretty open that like this is happening, you're part of it, you're the chosen one. Otherwise, n- the question he's seeking of like what's my purpose is never going to happen.
Absolutely. You actually tied into something else that I was going to touch on was this idea of like do we really think that ignorance is ever bliss? Right. So, like, if we're just stuck in these routines and we're not open to even what's being presented to us, is not knowing ever the same as happiness? Or is it just, I don't know what I don't know?
Yeah, I am not a fan of ignorance is bliss. I don't really believe that saying to always be true.
Mm,
I mean, in some sense, like my grandmother, for instance, she was from the Middle East. She never spoke English.
mm,
And she lived a very simple life. I mean, Middle Eastern women don't drive, they don't get jobs, like it's just not a thing. And so my mom always used to say that my grandmother was so happy because she was ignorant.
oh, yeah.
And in a sense, because she was sheltered, being, just like she wasn't given much responsibility. She wasn't, when she was here, she didn't speak English, so she didn't understand the news. She did
Mm,
understand football, though. She loved football. But yeah, so, and she was always just ignorant and happy. And like my mom would say that. But for me, I would rather know the truth and
mhm.
have an opinion, have a say, have control over my destiny over humanity,
Yeah.
over, you know, that's just me. I feel like for me, ignorance would not be bliss.
Yeah, I think that that's really well said. It's kind of like an older trope of like what you don't know can't hurt you.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, having kind of, not kind of, having dedicated my life to therapy and like helping people build insight, I actually really agree that what you don't know, I would argue, hurts you a lot.
Yeah.
Because this idea that just because you don't know it, it doesn't affect you or it's not influencing you, I actually strongly disagree with,
Yeah.
right? So being ignorant or unaware doesn't actually shield you the way that I think we used to think it does.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Absolutely.
we're so influenced by just the world around us, simulation or not, that the idea that just because I'm not aware of it, it's not impacting me, I think is actually kind of false. And kind of dangerous.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back to that, like you said, what you know doesn't hurt you. I always say that, lying to somebody, then they're gonna be mad at you for 2 things.
Sure.
For the thing you're lying about and for lying,
Yep.
versus if you're honest,
Yep.
they can't say that you're a liar. You at
That's
least were
true.
honest with them. So I think that kind of ties into it is like, ignorance is bliss. It's like then you're kind of mad about 2 things,
Yeah.
you're mad about the reality and you're mad that it was hidden from you,
Absolutely.
versus being presented with it and given the option type
Yep.
of thing.
100%. All right. What else did you have?
Okay. Um So this is really funny. So his boss talks to him about being late at work. If you
Uh-huh.
remember that in the beginning, I
Yep.
put that that's my biggest pet peeve is when people are late. It drives me nuts. So I just had to put that because that was an emotion I was literally having was like annoyedness.
Sure.
I was super annoyed. And I was like, I'm just going to write this down
Yeah.
because it's an emotion I'm feeling
Yep.
super random. Um, when Neo says, "Why is this happening to me? What did I do?" I put, "I feel that a lot."
Oh, interesting. Say more.
Yeah, so Neo, it's when I think in the big so it must be after Morpheus wants to help Neo. So
Okay.
he's on the phone with Morpheus, I think, and he's guiding him out of his office or
Yep.
wherever he
Because
is.
the agents, I think, are after him.
Yes, and Morpheus briefly says into the phone, like, "Why is this happening to me? What did I do?"
Mm-hmm.
And I say that so much. I feel like sometimes I don't have control over what's happening to me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically like with my son and my son's father, it's just really challenging co-parenting with him.
Sure.
And so also having like other things happen to me in my life where I'm just like, why is this happening to me? Like when I was on vacation this weekend, my friend had rolled down the window to look at the moon, and then my window just broke. And so it's actually at the
Oh,
shop right now.
no.
My boyfriend had to drive me here today.
Oh,
We had to
no.
tape it up and same thing. I was like, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Like literally. That's why I was like, I feel that a lot. Like just that sense of like something instantaneously happens.
Yeah.
You don't do anything to warrant it, but now it's like a wrench in your day or a wrench in your plan. And like, I just resonated with him saying that for some reason.
I appreciate you sharing that because I think, again, like in that existential vein, that is probably an experience a lot of people have, right? Because I think there's these different schools of thought of how we make sense of our experiences. And one of them is that the world is very chaotic and things just happen and there's not a lot of reason to any of it. We're just trying to navigate our way through it. But I think there is that other school of thought of like everything happens for a reason. So if something bad is happening, there must be a reason that I just don't see.
Mhm.
And I don't know what the right answer is. That I do think that's a very common experience where people are seeking out positive experiences because they do positive things. And then it's really challenging to make sense of the really negative, hard things that happen to us when we don't understand what we could have done to make that happen or deserve it.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like interesting to think about like which train of thought maybe resonates more.
Yeah. And then another thing I put was Morpheus said, "A prison in your mind."
Mm.
And I
Hmm.
liked that. I wrote like random quotes that I was like, "Ooh, I like that."
Yeah.
Um, because I do believe a lot of us are in a prison in our
Yeah.
minds, especially with social media and stuff. I've noticed I have friends that they'll delete their social media, they'll take social media breaks.
Yes.
It's more common now. I'm sure people have heard of that. And they always tell me they feel so good. I have friends that
Yeah.
never get back on social media. They're like, "Eh, I don't know, it's just stressful," especially
Yep.
seeing, like, all the things going on in the world today, like we were saying, and, it's like a prison in your mind that sometimes you can't get out of, and it really depresses you and brings you
Yes.
down, or even a prison in your mind in the sense of, like, if you allow yourself to overthink and be consumed by sometimes those bad things happening to you, right?
Absolutely.
Um Whatever that may be in that moment, but you could feel like you're in a prison in your mind. So
100%. And I think the idea again of like the matrix being the simulation, but the simulation looking like again what our understanding of the world was, because that's the perspective it was written from. And it is this sort of like drab day to day, go to work, do what you got to do. And these routines where we get so stuck in autopilot. And so with social media, I think you make a really great point is like that's now become part of that autopilot. Like we hear this all the time. You open up your phone, you go on social media, you're scrolling, you don't even know what you're consuming.
yeah,
It's just like part of what you do, whether it's helping or hurting you.
yeah,
It's like another version of the matrix of like, I just have to tap into this thing or plug into this thing. And I've not really stopped and thought about, how it's affecting me.
Exactly. And also, like, how I'm sure people are aware that a lot of what people post is all the happy stuff.
Correct.
So again, when you're going through these moments of like, why is this happening to me? What did I do? And you see people like happy, 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 happy. It's like it
Mhm.
sometimes can amplify that. But the reality is people just post usually good stuff.
The
Their life,
highlights.
yes, their life is also just as chaotic. I can vouch, like I said, as a hairstylist working with many people, everyone is going through so much. They just usually hide it very well on their
Yeah.
day to day.
I think you're totally right. And
Yeah.
I am grateful. I think we're having so many more conversations now around that social media reality, faux reality, the impact on us. And hopefully, at least with adults, starting to slow down and recognize that, yeah, I'm consuming all these things and I'm so tapped in, and none of it's, well, very little of it's real.
Yeah.
Or the parts that are real are, again, completely curated,
Mhm.
where anything negative or hard to balance that out is not really shared.
Oh, yeah, people take happy family pictures, they're all, like, smiling, and I'll be like, "Oh, your picture's so cute." They're like, "Oh, I had to drag my kid kicking and screaming
Yep.
and, like, tell them they were getting ice cream if they smiled, it was terrible."
Yep.
Like, and so but in that picture, you're like, "Oh, happy little family," but you didn't see the kid kicking and screaming to get to that picture, and then, like, the whole argument in the car afterwards, like,
Exactly.
you don't see all that, right?
Yeah, or even the, like, 45 photos it took to get that one moment,
Yeah,
or the hundreds it took to get those 5.
yeah.
You're totally right. We've kind of created a different kind of prison where this little tiny computer in our hands also dictates so much of what we're measuring ourselves by.
Yes.
Like, it's a fascinating reality, I think, to come up against at this point. Again,
Yeah.
27 years later after this argument was made of, like, we're all asleep and we have no idea what's really going on.
I know, that's why I was like, "This is a trip."
Yeah.
Another few emotions, I got chills when Morpheus breaks the chains when,
Yes.
Neo and Trinity are, like, in the helicopter,
Yeah, trying to
and
save him.
yeah, and the agents are there, and he, like, breaks the chains, like, that part literally gave me chills,
Yeah.
and I think it's because I always love, like, that part in a movie,
Yes.
seeing, like, the rescue or the comeback. I
Yep.
always say that everyone loves a comeback. When my friends are like in low places, I always tell them, "Hey, this is the good thing is everyone loves a comeback." So like you're just on your comeback now, you
Yes,
know?
yeah.
And so I just love moments like that. So that gave me chills and I put super sweaty palms. Literally my hands are like sweating because I get all excited.
Yeah.
And I put yes, Neo saves everyone. Literally,
I
yes. So
love
I
it.
wrote
Multiple A's, multiple S's. I love this
I
pure emotional
yeah.
response. This is great.
Yes, I, like, really loved when he saved everyone, I just feel like that protagonist in the
Yes.
story, right? Um, I just always loved good endings. It was a
Yep.
really good ending, and he was the one. That's what I put. I said, "I'm just tearing up at Tank saying I knew it, he's the one."
Yeah.
Like I said, I just get really emotional, so, like, I loved that part when Tank was like, "I knew it, he was the one," because Neo had that doubt,
Yes.
and I think even Morpheus stayed pretty true, but I could tell Trinity also had doubt because she said, like didn't she say or he said that the Oracle said he wasn't the one. The
Right.
Oracle told Neo he wasn't the one.
Yes.
So I think there was that doubt, and then he also told Trinity that,
Yeah.
So there was, like, kind of this doubt in the movie, like,
Mhm.
is he the one? Is he not the one? Then they, like, shoot him a bunch times, and you
Yes.
think he's dead, and then he comes back. So when Tank said that, I don't know why, I just, like, started tearing up. I was like, "I love this. Why am I crying on The Matrix?" But
I'm so glad you said that because I want to spend a little bit of time there, because this is something that has always stuck with me. Is, again, like, if you're following the story, we're told to see the Oracle as the all-knowing truth.
Mhm.
And so this whole part of rescuing Neo from, the Matrix, bringing him into reality, taking him to see her, and then her affirming that he isn't actually the one, and his doubts basically being reflected back to him
Mm.
that, sorry, kid, it's not you, and you're
Yeah,
the cookie, right?
yeah.
So what do you think is the reason, knowing now, obviously, that he is the one and this spawned a franchise and there's a much bigger story being told, what do you think the reason is that the Oracle told him he wasn't the one, or affirmed for him that he wasn't the one? I have lots of thoughts too.
That's hard for me. Part of me wonders, like, is the Oracle is the Oracle part of the Resistance? Or is the Oracle a
Great
separate
question.
being?
Yeah. So I've read lots of theories over the years. I don't know that I have the right answer. But since the Oracle's basically kind of a malfunction within the Matrix, it's a computer program, right? It's part of the resistance that it also is kind of manipulative. Don't
Yes.
call her she because I think she's a she in the movie. But you're absolutely right. Like your gut is telling you, like, is she there to help or not? And
Yeah.
so my interpretation over the years is it's both.
Yeah.
She has this knowledge because she's part of the computer system itself, and she's been part of the reboots again of the numerous matrices over the decades that we haven't seen since the world ended. So she has information. I do think she's there to help, but she also is manipulating the situation, and those reasons I'm never quite sure about.
Yeah. I wonder if she's manipulating the situation. It's hard because part of me wonders if Neo had to know in himself, not be
Mhm.
told. And if she told him, you're the one, then there might not be that same sense of like true internal belief. It's external, right? It's someone telling you rather than against all odds, knowing in your heart what is true to you.
Yes, so I think you nailed it, and you gotta go back and tell your boyfriend he was way wrong, because I think you nailed it. Now again, this doesn't make me right. I did not
No,
obviously write or create this movie.
usually, I'm really confused, but I think too because I took so many notes, and what's also funny is, like, there's the crops part I put, and then I
Uh-huh.
put got chills at breaking the chains. He wanted to read my notes this morning. He goes, "You had no notes between that and that?" And he's like, "You had so many notes for
That's
the
true in the
whole
beginning.
rest of the movie." And I was like, I was just so intently watching it at that point,
Yeah, absorbing it.
yeah, that I didn't write as many notes. But I think it was because I was just so into it and trying to really, like, understand it, and I think also because I was asking, because I was like, "Why was the phone call so important?" And I put, "Oh, the phone transports them," like, later I figured out. So,
Right.
things like that where in the beginning, I may not have remembered even the phone call, but because I
Sure.
physically wrote it down,
Yes, it connected.
it helped me piece it together better too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I think you said that nailed it though was that he had to figure it out for himself. And again, having rewatched this for so many years, having seen all the sequels, having read so many articles about it, I believe that version. Now, again, I don't know if that's what was intended, but to me, that's what resonates. That if someone just tells you you're good or you're powerful or you're capable, we know this, right? We're very good at dismissing positive feedback and really good at latching on to negative feedback. And so I love the idea that maybe she intentionally didn't tell him for that reason, because the consequences of telling him he was the one may have outweighed any positives
Mhm.
because he has to go on this journey. And you could look at that as like a storytelling trope. You could look at that psychologically to get our buy in too, right? Like if we know at that point in the movie he's the one, what are we watching the rest of the movie for?
Yeah.
So I really like that perspective that he needed to learn through action. He had to go through strife. He had to make that ultimate choice to save Morpheus, thinking that he was going to die, because
Yeah.
that is what the Oracle told him, that he
Yeah.
would have to make a choice eventually.
Yeah.
And so, with that perspective, I like the idea that it forced him into his ultimate self exploration of like, okay, I've built a relationship with these people. I know Morpheus is important. I'm willing to sacrifice my life to save him. And through that process, come to learn, no, I am actually the one and I'm capable of so much more than I thought possible.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um Back, I guess, to the oracle kind of telling him, "You're not the one." It does make you wonder, like, is there ulterior motive, or was it because, yes, that was, like, part of the plan?
Right.
Um, I guess, though, I view it as I think in some way it was, like, part of the plan, like,
Mhm.
it all I don't know, I just don't feel like he would have been as powerful in himself, like that self-knowing. I think
Yeah.
there's a real power in self-knowing despite everything around you. And
Yep.
again, we see that with the resistance, like with even resistance in society. People will tell you you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And sometimes there's instances where we just know in our hearts that this is true.
Mhm.
And there's a real power in that.
I agree, and I think even just the idea that, like, you can cheerlead someone, kind of taking us back to your earlier point when we were talking about, like, you can show someone the door, but they have to choose to walk through it.
Mhm.
You can cheerlead someone and be a support system for them, and at the end of the day, until they believe in themselves. It is always external. And
Exactly.
it's not that the external doesn't matter, of course it does, but there is something about lived experience and building a sense of self-efficacy and self-belief that I think is almost more powerful than just being cheerleaded. Like, I think
Absolutely.
you need both. But I really was thinking about that and prepping to talk about it today is like, I do think there's a manipulative aspect to the Oracle. And at the same time, I really like the idea that it was part of his journey. He had to experience it to believe it. And telling him would not have made him believe it sooner.
Well, also too, this is random, and I don't know with all of your therapy if this is true or not, but um I've heard, people could give you 25 compliments, but if they give you one negative remark, it sticks with you.
Yes.
Like somebody can tell me 100 times like they love my hair, but if one person was like, I don't like your blonde hair or something like that, it would make me constantly think, why'd that person say they don't like my blonde hair? So maybe there was some psychology to it because I feel like sometimes we focus on the negative or what we're
Hmm.
being told we can't do.
Yep.
We push harder to defy it sometimes.
Yep. I agree with you. I do
Yeah.
think that is just like part of the human psyche is it's very hard for us to absorb those positives, especially in that ratio to one negative.
Yeah.
Like we are just so good at latching on to the one nasty thing that somebody said,
Yeah.
and we'll just sort of shoo aside all the lovely, wonderful cheerleading things that people have said to
Yeah.
us.
So it made me wonder, like, if she had just told him that cheerleader thing, like,
Yep.
"Oh, you're the one,"
Yep.
it just kinda gets brushed off and he could just be like, "Oh, I'm the one," and doesn't really, because I think he needed to really tap into all his potential, and he
Yes.
did that when he was fighting Agent Smith, I think you said was his
Yes.
name. I didn't catch on to all the agents' names. I mean, I saw the
I only
agents.
know him because he's the ultimate bad guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But, like, yeah, the sunglasses, but, like, then he starts defying the bullets and he starts, like,
Yes.
beating him up and, like, then he goes into his body and, like, so you can tell he really comes into his own at that
Yes.
point, and I don't know that that would have happened if he believed he was the one
I agree.
from the beginning.
I wonder if would it have created almost a sense of complacency
Exactly.
where he wouldn't have had to struggle and question and challenge. And again, would he have risked his life for Morpheus if he'd been told and confirmed he was the one already?
Yeah.
Because I also wonder, kind of to your point with Trinity questioning whether he was the one, if his act of self sacrifice is that thing that clicked for her. Because we think he dies, he gets shot all those times. And then she kisses him and says, the Oracle told me I would fall in love with the one, and I love you, so you must be the one.
Yeah.
But how much of that was also informed by his self-sacrifice for Morpheus?
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, like, maybe the one was not determined until she fell in love? Like, is there, like, a
Now we're getting really deep
I
into
know,
love. It's
I
the
know.
chicken and the egg. Which thing led to which or came first? And that's why I love this movie is because it literally blew my mind as a
Yeah.
young person. Like, this is like the most wild, beautiful, relatable, thought-provoking story, I think, again, of a generation. And he just used computers as a vessel to tell it.
Yes. And, the whole, like, using humans as energy,
Yes.
like, and when he shows him the battery, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
so, like, trippy and weird and gross."
Yes.
And to some sense, AI does need humans to function. They could
Right
not
now.
function, so but, they need, like, the consumer, they need all this stuff. So, yeah, it's
Yes.
like, in some sense, we are fueling them already,
Yes.
even if it's not literally like we're being hooked up.
Yes.
In a sense, we do fuel that.
Yep.
So, when I saw the battery, we are still the battery for AI.
I mean, you're not wrong. That
Yeah,
is pretty trippy to think
yeah,
about how, again, you could argue we're creating our own demise,
yes,
right? Like we are fueling this technology that is becoming more powerful and more powerful, and we're trying to add sentience, which to me is the ultimate horror movie of giving these computers the opportunity to be thinking about what they're doing with this sort of hubris that could never turn out poorly is also just a lot for my brain to make sense of
Oh,
in the here
absolutely.
and now.
Yes.
All right. Anything else in your notes that we haven't gotten to yet?
Not really. I think we got all of it.
Okay.
I've also put I got chills when Neo was setting up to fight again, to keep fighting.
Yes.
I just love, like I said, those moments in a movie or even in life when people push through their breaking point and come out so much stronger. Like
Yes.
it always makes me emotional. It's always like a thing, like I'm a big crier. I always cry happy tears.
Yeah.
And then I put Neo as the one and
I
it's
love
like
it.
underscore.
Giant
Yeah.
letters in your notes.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he is the one.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it sounds like the emotions you had when it ended, would you say that you were relieved, excited? Did it feel more trippy, more creepy? Like what emotion word would you use kind of as it ended and you were like highlighting or underlining this realization?
I thought it was a really great story. It had a lot of different elements. It kept you on the edge of your seat because I was kind of in belief that he wasn't the one. And then,
Yeah.
especially like when he died, and then when he came back, then I was like, but there's still like the sentiments that were coming in, or
Oh, the Sentinels.
the
Yeah.
sentinels, whatever they're called.
Yep.
The sentinels were coming in, and they were like waiting to do the EMP till Neo
Yes.
woke up.
Yep.
And so like it was a thriller. It kept me on the edge of my seat. It was really exciting. Honestly, I just wanted to watch the rest of them. Like I said, I just got back from a trip like literally last night, started watching The Matrix, fell asleep. I always wake up early. I woke up this morning and finished watching it. So it's super fresh in my brain. And I was like, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna watch the rest of The
Oh, I
Matrix. Like,
can't
I'm
wait.
so excited. Yeah. So
Can't wait to.
it just made me want to keep watching more to continue to see where the story goes, you
Yes,
know?
absolutely, and
Yeah.
it's a huge story,
Yeah.
just FYI, like, it ends up being an epic, interwoven, I think, incredibly written concept, which I love where it goes. The graphics get a little wonky in number 3. I'm not a huge fan of because the computers were also evolving and what they
Uh-huh.
could do evolves. But I thought they brought it really back in number 4.
Yeah.
Number 4 is much more grounded, I think in terms of the special effects.
Yeah.
So, kind of with that, let's talk a little bit as we're winding down about the cultural impact of the movie, just in terms of what it was like to see it. Again, it's a 27-year-old movie. What did you think about the graphics and the effects and how it hit you?
So in the beginning, I noticed that, yeah, the graphics obviously were a little dated and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, is this going to be like cheesy a little bit? But I didn't mind it because the story was so good. And I
Yeah.
thought it got better, like, especially like with the sentiments. It was like some of the fighting scenes, they're a little like, but it's 27 years old. But as far as like the sentiments and like when they show being plugged in and all that stuff,
Yeah.
it was very good graphically, especially for what they had accessible at that time.
Yes.
So I was very impressed by that. Like I said, when it first started, I was wondering like, am I gonna like this or not? Because I think it was in the beginning when Trinity was fighting the agents.
Yes.
And it's just all really fast and like, I was like, I am confused. I have no clue what's going on. But I figured it out. Um,
I think that's how we all felt seeing it the first time, which
yes.
was the point. We're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
Like, what am I seeing?
Yeah. So what was the question again?
Just how the graphics and
The
the like
graphics.
special effects and things hit you, knowing that it's so old.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought it was good though. Like in the beginning, I was wondering if it was going to be cheesy, but then I like forgot about it and didn't even care because the story was so good.
Awesome.
And they got better, like I said, like when they were bringing out certain things, and then when they're like using the EMP on his stomach, like all that
Yeah.
stuff was not bad. Like it was pretty good for what they had at their time. Now it's like we were saying, you can't even when they make movie graphics now with the AI and all the stuff they have,
It's a little scary
it's
how
so
realistic
scary.
stuff
Yeah.
is, yeah. When I think that's one of the hard parts of seeing it so late is I'm sure just in your, lifetime since then, because you were so young, you've seen so much CGI and so many advancements in technology in media that this looks old.
Mhm.
I think the thing that I really cling to is when it had come out, I was not a martial arts fan. So I wasn't watching classic martial arts films. Like I knew who Bruce Lee was and Jet Li, and I just didn't have a lot of connection to that. So like seeing those fight scenes and to me was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Especially because they defy gravity, right? They
Yes.
have these other sort of super set of skills in the Matrix that allows them to, free their mind and do all these things that you couldn't do in the real world. And to try to figure out how they did it always blew me away.
Yeah.
Right. And like learning again, becoming such a fan and watching and reading everything, like how much martial arts training they had to do. I think they all did a full 4 months of training before filming.
Wow.
And the fact that most of it was each of the actors, like very little stunt double work. And so I love the aspect of what they were able to pull off back then using a lot of practical effects.
Yeah.
So I can't explain it. I'm not a tech person. I've read about it and I've watched documentaries on how they pulled off the famous like defying gravity, leaning back bullets, and how they did all those scenes that apparently they invented some technology that now is very common to shoot it over and over and over again and then piece together all those images so it slows down and you can see the bullet like moving in time
Yes.
had never really been done before.
Yeah.
And so I love thinking about like what it contributed culturally and how it's been duplicated and replicated and spoofed.
Yeah.
Right? Like I always think of the scary movies
Yes.
and how they, made fun of those fight scenes and, the flying up in the air to do the kung fu and all the different styles of martial arts. I just really appreciate what it gave us as a viewer too, not just the storyline.
Absolutely. It was really cool. I will add to that. Like, I did think all the backflips and stuff, like, I was like, wow, like that part was really cool. And
Yeah,
I guess not thinking about it in that sense of like how they had to do that,
right.
because I think I am spoiled, being as I've seen so much that
Yeah.
maybe it was, I shouldn't say less impressive, but like less impressionistic,
Yeah. It's a
because
great
I'm
way to put it.
like 31 now. But yeah, like you said, if I would have saw this in before 2000 when it
Yes.
came out, it would have been groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I remember feeling again was like, I swear there was some like HBO special behind the scenes that showed you like they're all on wires. So like they're actually being lifted off the ground and like flipping around almost
Wow.
like Cirque du Soleil style.
Yeah.
And it's so choreographed. On film, it just looks like they have this ability and like my younger brain trying to piecemeal like this is incredible. Like I'm so sucked into the story and then to see the behind the scenes of how they did it, I just think that you can't underestimate or you can't minimize the impact that what they pulled off really gave us.
Yeah.
And if you're ever bored and you get into like all the history of them trying to make this movie, the Wachowski sisters, and like what they were able to do and how their budget was supposed to be like all this money and it got slashed and they were still able to pull off all this stuff. It's really inspirational too
Yeah.
to read their journey and like how this has now become one of the biggest franchises in movie history.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the little engine that could. And I
Yeah.
love that part of it too. I give
Yes.
it tons of credit for that. All right. So as we're wrapping up, just a couple last questions. If you're thinking maybe like a week from now, what image or line from this movie do you think will be living rent free in your head? Like what's really going to stick with you?
Um, I feel like I knew it. I knew he was the one. Like, I just loved that when Tank said
Yeah.
that. Like, it was just so cute.
Yeah.
I loved that. I loved him in the helicopter, like
Yeah.
Neo. I should be more specific because him is vague. Neo in the helicopter, with the Trinity flying and they're trying to save Morpheus. Like, I loved that
Yeah.
part. It was very, like, um, I don't know. It just warms my heart. I love that.
Is evocative.
Yes.
Brought up some
Yes,
feelings.
you have better words than I do. Uh, so I really liked that. And again, like, I don't know why, but like why is this happening to me? Like you said that,
Yeah.
even though that's probably so small dialogue that no one really caught on to, maybe
It's the one that's hit
it
you.
stuck
Yeah.
to me, but it also made me think, like you said, sometimes things might be happening for a greater purpose,
Yeah.
right? And try to find the good in the why, you know?
Yeah. And really just sitting with like how we make sense of things, I do think is definitely a takeaway from this.
Yes.
Not that I'm again saying I have the right answers. I just like the concept of the curiosity of
Yes.
like not just accepting what's being presented to you, but being curious about like what else could be true. That's a
Absolutely.
nugget that really stays with me. And again, like those really early on images, like I'll always be able to recall Morpheus being rescued because I love that the sprinklers are going and
Yeah.
so there's water everywhere. And then of course like Neo coming back to life and that like final scene where he doesn't even have to try anymore when he's fighting Agent Smith. He just
Mhm.
like turns to the side
Yeah.
and he can like block all the fighting
Yeah.
without any effort. And then the scene where he doesn't take the bullets, but he puts his hand out and they drop.
Yes.
Because there's a line, if you remember, way earlier in the movie where he asks Morpheus, "So I'm going to be able to dodge bullets?" And Morpheus says, "When the time is right, you won't have to." And that has stuck with me my whole life.
I love that.
That he could get to a point where he doesn't have to be faster. He's basically using the Matrix to his um, success, I guess. That's not the word I'm looking for, but he's using it to his advantage. Thank you. In my brain, it's helping me. And he just makes the bullets drop.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that giving me chills.
Yeah.
And thinking, like, kind of, you wrote Neo is the one. I was just saying, like, whoa, he's tapped in now. Like, what does this mean?
Yes.
And I don't even think I knew there was going to be a second one yet, but knowing that this is the beginning of something, not the end.
Yes. It was really awesome, like, when he did this
Yep.
and the bullets fell, and then they
Yes.
got really scared. They
Oh,
were
they
like,
knew.
"Oh, shit."
We're
Yeah.
in trouble.
Yeah.
Something has shifted and it is not in our
Yeah,
favor.
but like I said, I think that's that moment where you know that he's like you said,
Yeah.
tapped in, like,
Yeah.
and I think that maybe the Oracle thing had to happen for
Yeah.
him to truly tap in.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Awesome. Any last things you want to share about this now that you're a Matrix fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a super Matrix fan. I think it was really cool. I think that if you haven't seen it in a while, you should rewatch it and question how much you trust AI.
Girl, you're speaking my language now. I want us to
I'm like,
question everything.
I've never been like I said from the beginning, I'm like, I don't know why. I just don't. Like, I have people, they literally use AI for like dating advice, and they're like, well, chat told me that this is what I should do. Chat told me that these are what they're feeling. And I'm like, that is wild. That is like wild that you like trust that and you like make life decisions based on like that. Like, it's craziness. I don't know. I'm not behind it. So if you're one of those people, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to be offensive, but like, I just don't understand it necessarily. I'm like, I feel like I make better decisions for my life than like something that doesn't have emotions,
Correct.
doesn't have, a history of living life and having experiences in life and learning from experiences and seeing sometimes what can happen as a result of doing the same thing over and over, like,
Yeah.
so sometimes that's why it's like, I get it for certain things. It's great. Like, you want to do math? I think ChatGPT could probably do that really fast for you, and that would be great. But like, trusting it with big life decisions, trusting it with HR employees. Like,
I know.
so employees are just literally messaging AI and AI is supposed to solve their problems. That's like a really interpersonal thing. So it's like to have not even a person behind that. I don't know. I just think it's kind of moving away from humans being connected, if you will.
I agree. And I was going to say, I mean, I am biased because everything you're saying, I also just happen to feel that way.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I am not a fan of anything that disintegrates human interaction. And to me, social media really started that, even though it was meant to bring us together, supposedly. I think it's had really negative consequences on human interaction. And to me, AI is the next chapter of that. And I'm not a personal fan. And I know lots of people are. I see The Matrix as a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Even though I know it's a fictional story, I think we are making it more nonfiction, and that is cause for concern.
Absolutely.
All right. So the way I'm ending episodes now is, and you might not have an answer in this moment, you can get back to me, but I will hold myself to this as homework. What's a movie that you love, like love, 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 that maybe I haven't seen? And then I will take that on as homework.
Have you ever seen the movie Enough?
Is that Jennifer Lopez?
Yeah.
I have seen that one.
Oh, I think
That's
we've
a
talked about that one. I was
Yeah.
like, I love that movie. It was one of my favorites as a kid. Let me think.
Yep.
What other movie do I love? Have you ever seen Lord of the Rings trilogy?
So, I've only seen most of the first one and I fell asleep and I
Okay.
did not get sucked in.
Yeah.
That is one that I actually have FOMO because I love being in on what everybody else loves. And I just didn't get that bite, or
Yeah.
that bug when I was young. I
Yeah.
tried.
I felt like I never watched it, and everyone's like, you have to watch it, you have to watch it. So it was just a few months ago and I binged it. It
Really?
was so good. And like the storyline is so good. And then I was like so sad. And then I tried to get into The Hobbit because it's supposed to be the spin-off.
Sure.
It's not that great. But the trilogy, I really liked it. And I went to work for the whole next week. And the first thing I would ask my clients when they sat down is like, have you seen The Lord of the Rings? And people were like, no. And I'm like, you have
Really?
to.
I'm surprised you got so many no's. It was like a cultural phenomenon.
I got a lot of yeses. One girl, she rolls up her arm and she had a whole Lord of the Rings sleeve.
Oh, so she's a stan.
She had like Elvish tattooed on her, like it's a language they speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very into it, and she was like, "Oh, girl, do I know Lord of the Rings?" I was like, "Yes!"
New
So
best friend.
yeah, I became like a really big big Lord of the Rings fan a few months ago. So I guess I would say maybe try to rewatch it when you're not as sleepy and like give it a shot if you feel up for it.
That is more than fair. And I'm adding this to the end of like, I'm going to take these homework assignments. So I will rewatch the first Lord of the Rings
See how you
since
feel.
I have not seen it since it was new and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then I would love to have you back to maybe even flip the script,
Uh-huh.
talk about that movie and maybe another part of the 4-part Matrix
Oh, yeah.
story.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna go watch The Matrix for sure. That's a definite. I'm like, this is so cool. I want to see what happens.
I love this story,
Yeah.
so I'm very excited to hear if the momentum stays for you.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, thank y'all for joining us. Hope that you enjoyed episode 2, our deep dive into the Matrix. Please subscribe and follow along. More episodes will be coming out. I have lots of great guests on the horizon and can't wait to see you next time. Thanks, Lexi.
You're so welcome. Thanks, Dr. Murphy.
Bye.